Hey, what's up arty people? My name is Julie and welcome to my art channel. I know it's been a really long time since I've uploaded anything. I'm so sorry. I'm such a slacker. Today I wanted to do kind of a misty forest, like mystical misty forest with fireflies. So yeah, let's get to it. First thing I'm gonna do is tape off the border that I want my painting. All right. So the colors I'm using today are going to be the Malachite, I think is how you say it. This is all from the Gonzai Tombi collection. The Cerulean Blue and the Indigo. These are the only colors I'm gonna, oh, and I'm gonna be using yellow, I lied. Now these are the only colors I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using some masking fluid, but I'll get to that bit later. So let's start. For most of this painting, I'm going to be using the wet on wet technique, which we've seen in another couple of my videos actually. It's my favorite. My first color is going to be this kind of aqua greenish color. I just realized my tape is pretty much the color scheme we're going for. We just want this to be kind of light to begin with, and it'll get darker as we go on with the painting. Now we're gonna dry it. I'm just gonna use my heat gun. Okay, there we go. So anytime that you use masking fluid, you want to make sure that your paper is completely dry. Otherwise, the masking fluid will seep into the tooth of your paper and you're going to end up ripping your paper or causing damage to the painting. So I'm just going to add a couple of, well, by a couple I mean a lot of little dots. These are going to be fireflies in the end, and it's going to look really cool. I think that's enough. And now we just gotta let the masking fluid dry completely. Like, don't speed up the process for your masking fluid because you'll end up like permanently sticking it to your sheet. So you've gotta let the masking fluid dry on its own without the use of a heat tool. Okay, so now that this is all dried, we're gonna go in with our second coat of water. And we're gonna use the same shade of green and darken the outer corners, but we're gonna leave the middle relatively light. We're not really gonna let this dry. We're actually gonna go kind of right in with this yellow, and I'm gonna place little yellow dots around everywhere that I have masking fluid. And we'll be able to clean it all up later when later on in the painting. But this is going to create like a glowy feel. And you really want to do it while the paper is wet so that the water spreads and you don't end up with like this cauliflowering effect. If there's any excess water like on the edges, go ahead and pick that up with your brush. I'm not super concerned with the accuracy because overall I want the entire painting to have kind of like this glowy feel, and this is going to be the best way to achieve that. Okay, again, we're not really going to let this dry. We're going to move into our next color, and I'm going to start working on some trees. If you do trees while the paper is still wet, they're going to kind of fuzz out and blur a little bit, and that'll help to create depth. I'll just go right into it. And then for the areas that you feel like are too refined, you can just go in with a little bit of extra water and soften up all of the edges so that it blurs and gets a little fuzzy looking. Like this entire tree is a bit too much in the foreground for me, so I'm going to get my brush a little wet and I'm going to kind of just like touch the edges of the tree with the wet brush, and that'll soften those edges and make it blurrier. Took me a long time to figure out how to get this kind of effect with watercolors, which is why I'm sharing with you guys today. While it's still wet, I'm going to go in with a bit more yellow on some of these spots, so they're not quite so green. I'm just going to dab it on top. Now I'm going to let this dry. Okay, so it's mostly dry. It's still a little damp in certain areas, and that's okay. I'm alright with that. I'm going to grab my bigger brush, and I'm going to wet the corners on the bottom, because I want my painting to have like a kind of like an early morning or early evening feel. I want it to be kind of dark and mysterious, because this is a mystic forest. And I'm going to go in with my darkest shade, which is the indigo. I'm just going to pick up some of that, and it's totally fine. Like, you kind of want the colors to blend because you want everything to have a cohesive look. And then using just clean water, I'm going to pull all of that up. So I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to come at the edges and just wet everything around it so that the watercolor spreads and gets rid of that hard line. In some of these areas where the yellow spread too much, I'm just going to go in with a clean brush and scrub at them a little bit, get as much lifted as I can. It's not super important, but just for what I like. I'm also going to go in and touch up this tree, this one here. I feel like we lost too much of it. Okay, so now that that's dry, I think I'm just gonna do like maybe one or two kind of main foreground trees, because I like that kind of misty, just spooky, mystical, fantastical look that we've got going right now. So I'm gonna go in with my tree color, and since it's dry, it's not gonna spread as much, it's not gonna spread out, so and it won't fade as much as these ones do. We can always add just a little bit more pigment later on. I think I want this first tree to be here. There. Maybe not the best, but also probably not the worst I've ever done, so let's get another one in here. I think I want to do a much smaller tree, maybe like a baby tree. Maybe it's a stump, who knows? Apparently it's a stump. I think kind of off on this side, I'm gonna add a couple of foreground branches to add a little bit more, to kind of balance the painting out a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry again. Okay, now that that's dry, I like it, I think it's done. So I'm going to call this one the Mystic Forest. And yeah, that's it. Nothing much, just a quick little sketch. I really hope you guys had fun following along or just watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!